I canceled my Apple Music subscription after 10 years and I switched to Spotify. In this video, I'll tell you what I love, what I hate, what I miss, and at the end of the video, I'll tell you if I'm switching back to Apple Music or keeping Spotify. Now, after using it for quite a while, what surprised me the most about Spotify is Spotify's new AI DJ. It's an AI-powered DJ that curates personalized music sessions based on your listening habits, and it features commentary between tracks and makes it very interactive. You can hold on that AI DJ button and request music on artists, on your mood. And honestly, when Spotify first announced this, I honestly thought it was a gimmick, but after using it for a while, it's honestly the way that I listen to music on Spotify. It's that good. And one thing that really surprised me is once you keep skipping on certain songs, the AI DJ will react to you skipping songs. So it'll be like, okay, skipper, let me totally change the mood to something that fits your mood. You know, Apple Music also does have some sort of algorithm whenever you create a station, for example. But Apple Music's algorithm tries to discover you and your music taste. But I don't know about you, but my music taste kind of changes depending on the day. And the Spotify AI DJ quickly reacts to your mood changes. More things that surprised me. The whole UI, in my opinion, is a little bit chaotic, and well, we're gonna get into that in just a second, but it feels so much snappier than Apple Music. Whenever you're skipping songs on a playlist, for example, the time that the song plays is incredibly snappy. On Apple Music, when you skip on a song, you kind of have to wait those little half a second. I know it's not a big deal, but whenever you add that to the whole experience, it just really surprised me how snappy the whole UI feels. I also don't know what Spotify does to make this so good, but the crossfade and gapless playback truly enhances the listening experience. Now, Apple also launched crossfade on Apple Music, which is basically when the last seconds of a song mixes in with the first seconds of the next song. And with Apple Music, you can also change the crossfade duration. I don't know what Spotify does, but it just feels like it works so much better as well. Music videos is kind of at the core of Spotify as well. And I'm personally a massive fan of music videos. And in Apple Music, you've obviously also got music videos, but they're kind of hidden in the experience. Music videos are kind of at the core of Spotify. When you're listening to a song, it's asking you, do you want to see the album cover or do you want to watch the music video? And that's something that really surprised me. I like the way that Spotify makes you choose on whether what you want to see or watch. And I really do hope that Apple truly improves that music video experience. Because honestly, discovering new music videos as an Apple Music fan, you don't really discover those music videos within Apple Music. I'm also obviously a massive YouTube fan, and YouTube Music does this really well. Whenever I'm opening up YouTube on my TV, YouTube will recommend me music videos that I'm personally going to love. So if we're talking about music videos in specific, it feels like Apple is last in the game in this case. Another thing that really surprised me is having all of these things that surprised me. Honestly, I didn't know I was going to love Spotify this incredibly much. The Spotify app on Mac is 100 miles superior than on Apple Music. Apple really needs to work on the Apple Music Mac app. It kind of feels like an outdated version of iTunes. Instead, with Spotify, you've got like different viewing modes. It's just got a less chaotic experience and it feels modern and fresh. Something else that Spotify does really well is live concerts. So if you're a big music fan, you obviously love going to live concerts of your favorite artists. I'm personally going to Kendrick Lamar's and SZA's concert this summer, which I'm extremely excited about. And it's always tough to know when your favorite artists are coming to your city, for example. And Spotify does that really well, integrating those live dates in that experience itself of the artist. This is also something that Apple is really trying to push, but that Spotify is already miles ahead. If you're enjoying this video, you're also probably going to love my podcast, Inside the Ecosystem, which dives deep into topics like this one with Apple execs, artists, designers, athletes on how they use the Apple ecosystem in their daily life. If you want to go deep inside of the Apple ecosystem, make sure to go listen to Inside the Ecosystem. It's available for free in Apple Podcast and Spotify, or you can become a channel member for just $1 a month to watch the podcast in video. Links in the description to become a channel member as well. Now, before I tell you everything that Apple Music is superior on and everything that I missed from Apple Music after being subscribed to Spotify, there are a lot of features that Apple Music does equally as good as Spotify. They both offer incredible real-time lyrics. Apple Music does go full screen and is a little bit more beautiful in my opinion, but they both do the job incredibly well. They both also now offer collaborative playlists. So you and your friends, you and your wife can all work on a playlist together and keep adding or deleting. It's incredible for an office, for a party, party. Both platforms are compatible on iPad, on Mac, on PlayStation, on Sonos, even on Apple Watch. And yes, both platforms have incredible Apple Watch apps that allow you to turn up the volume, that allow you to control playback, find a specific playlist or song. Something that I personally find Apple Music a little bit superior is that you can go running with your Apple Watch and still stream millions of songs without needing your phone near you. Something that with Spotify, you just need to download those playlists offline and then listen to it. Both platforms obviously also have offline support, so you can listen to music in the airplane when you don't have cellular data near you. At the end of the year, we have Spotify Wrapped versus Apple Music Replay. They both tell you the artist that you've listened to the most, the song that you've listened to the most times. I do find Spotify is a little bit more superior. At the end of the year, I'm kind of a little bit more jealous of Spotify users because of how fun, beautiful, and aesthetic Spotify does their Spotify Wrapped. Okay, now that all of that is out of the way, let me tell you everything that Apple Music is way superior in my opinion, and everything that I missed so much on having Spotify with these weeks that I've been using it. I always love discovering new music, and one of my favorite ways on discovering new music is whenever I go out. Whenever I'm at a bar, at a coffee shop, at a store, and I simply ask Siri, what's that song called? And Shazam is honestly one of my favorite features on the iPhone, one of my favorite apps, and as you know, it's owned by Apple. And Shazam isn't compatible with Spotify. Sure, Shazam will tell you what song it is, but if you're an Apple Music subscriber, you can simply tap on it and add it directly to a playlist or add it directly to your library. That's definitely something that I missed. Also, recommendation. Now, this is a big topic on both services. And when I canceled my Apple Music subscription and switched to Spotify, I honestly thought Spotify's algorithm was going to be miles away better than Apple Music. And what surprised me is that this wasn't necessarily true. Everybody says that Spotify's algorithm is so much better, and I just disagree. Apple Music's algorithm is equally as good. It truly gets to know you, especially when you feed it information like liking or disliking a song. Whenever I create a station on Apple Music, the following songs that go with that are music that I usually love, and I discover a lot of music because of that. Now, shout out to Spotify's AI DJ because it truly does really well in feeding you new music in that moment that you really like. But I just wanted to say that recommendations are just pretty much equally as good, and I'm adding it at the end of the video because it didn't really surprise me on Spotify. Sure, it's good, but it's equally as good in Apple Music in my opinion. I know I'm going to trigger a lot of people with what I'm about to say, but let's talk about the design. I said that the Spotify app on the Mac is better than an Apple Music, but the most important version of the app has to be on the iPhone. And in my opinion, the design of the Apple Music app on the iPhone is miles ahead than on Spotify. Sure, Spotify takes more risks. Sure, Spotify tends to be more modern, more fun, but I feel like Apple is best at design. And it truly showcases that with the Apple Music app. Apple lets the artwork shine from the artists. I always say this, but Spotify is more playlist driven. It tends to give you those songs that you want to listen, which is great for recommendation. Apple tends to lean more towards respecting the artist, and I feel like albums are fading away with this new generation, which we're only listening to playlists nonstop. And I really like how the design of Apple Music is oriented towards albums, because that's what the artist truly wants us to listen to. And I'm not saying that Apple doesn't show us a bunch of playlists, which they are incredibly good, which we're gonna touch into that in just a second, but I just find Apple Music's design way much cleaner than on Spotify. This is obviously a matter of preference. You might like Spotify's because it's a little bit more chaotic and a little bit more fun. In my opinion, I like a cleaner design better, especially when listening to music. I also really missed curated content. It truly feels that Spotify is AI driven. Most of the playlists from Spotify are made by AI, by robots, by an algorithm, which is phenomenal. I'm not saying not, but I truly felt that I missed created content from humans working at Apple Music. And I'm not saying Spotify doesn't have music culture or respect for music. All I'm saying is that Apple Music truly takes that at the core, and you feel that. You feel that with a playlist. And then something else that I missed was the live radio shows. From Apple Music One to Apple Music Hits, Zane Lowe, in my opinion, as a host of Apple Music, is the heart of the service. And once again, I love that AI DJ, and I discovered so much new music daily on it. But in my opinion, I'd rather a human. Apple Music also has karaoke, which when you're listening to the live lyrics, you can tap on the karaoke icon and it will remove all of the vocals, which is a lot of fun. Maybe you're in a car ride, maybe you're having a family dinner and you want to just sing a bunch of your favorite songs with your family or friends. I didn't miss this feature, but it's also something else that I love about Apple Music. Podcasts are also at the core of Spotify's strategy as well. And I personally do not want podcasts in my music app. I don't know if this is just me, but I'd rather the podcast to live in the podcast app and music to live in the music app. Now, all of the features that I just mentioned are a pretty big deal, but they aren't game-changing. There is one feature that Apple Music has that Spotify doesn't, that is truly a game changer for me, and that is spatial audio. When you're listening to music on Spotify, you truly notice the difference in audio quality while switching from Apple Music. Apple Music's audio quality is miles ahead than on Spotify. One of the big reasons that I love Apple Music is because of this right here, my Sonos setup. This is a $2,000 setup that I have, a bar, the two Sonos Era 300s, and my bass. And it's compatible with Spotify, but it doesn't have spatial audio. And whenever I'm listening to spatial audio in my living room, for example, the vocals are in the back, the drums are in the front. It's truly what spatial audio is all about. And Spotify not having spatial audio, also not lossless, but I'm not even gonna touch on lossless because even though Apple Music has it, I personally don't either notice it or use it. But something that you truly notice is Dolby Atmos spatial audio. Now, I'm sure Spotify will release Dolby Atmos one day, but until that day happens, Apple Music's audio quality will be way much better. Now let's talk about pricing for just a second. They both offer very similar price tags. Spotify does offer a free version with ads, so something that Apple Music doesn't, which I highly don't really recommend because it just kind of ruins the whole experience. But if you don't want to pay for music, which you totally should pay for music and respect the artists, you do have a free version on Spotify. Premium version is slightly a little bit more expensive on Spotify. Spotify will cost you $11.99 a month compared to Apple Music at $10.99 a month. Very similar. They both offer family plans, student discounts. Apple also offers Apple One, which is an incredible value if you're subscribed to iCloud, Apple TV Plus, Apple Music. You can bundle it all in one place. So after unsubscribing to Apple Music, am I subscribing back to the platform, or am I keeping my Spotify subscription? Now, this is crazy for me to say as a big Apple fan, and not only a fan, a big user in the Apple ecosystem. You know this, obviously, that's what this channel is all about, but I didn't know I was going to enjoy Spotify this much. And look, I've used Spotify before. We've made tons of comparisons in the channel, but I didn't fully unsubscribe to Apple Music and just use Spotify for a while. And I truly understand the hype on Spotify. It is a phenomenal platform. The Spotify AI DJ is a feature that I honestly wish Apple Music would have. I'm such a big fan of music videos, and it's just at the core of Spotify. It's a tough decision, if you want to be honest, but until Spotify has spatial audio on Dolby Atmos, I'm switching back to Apple Music. The design, the audio quality, and the created content for me just keeps me going back to this incredible platform. I loved making this challenge because I respect Spotify so much more now. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer. You can hit subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Keep watching more of my content, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.